All right, good morning, everyone. Going to just do another quick video here for Anki. So let's get right into it. I just have one update. There was something I missed for the previous iCards here, so I just want to update that quick. So still in first aid of Anki version 11, go down to neuro and special senses into ophthalmology. Then we're going to go into the cranial nerves and palsies. I was talking with second years in regards to how best to study for um, the test and like what kind of questions they're going to ask with just all the anatomy we're getting. I mean, we're getting a little bit of clinical, a little bit of physiology, but we're just getting a lot of rough anatomy and like this nerve does this. And so a lot of the style of questions are going to be, if a patient has a lesion or if this nerve or if this anatomy is compromised, what happens? So I activated a few more cards here. So I ignore the first four just because these are like a little oddly specific. Yeah, I just don't like these four. But the rest, just make sure the rest are all activated. I think that they'll be really beneficial. Like if you don't have a trochlear nerve activated or working, you're going to lose the superior oblique muscle, which causes something clinically. So I just think this is going to be a helpful little like fun fact to know because it's probably the style of questions we're going to get. So at least it might not be the specific one, but it gets you thinking in that right state of mind of if this nerve is gone, what is going to happen physically to their eyes, to their head? How is that going to manifest? So, but that is it for ophthalmology. We're going to go to anatomy and physiology and also some other stuff that I found that might be helpful. So we're going to go to cerebellum. And we're going to go to gross anatomy and no. Where were it? Yeah, I thought we were in here, but oh yeah, the first one. Like, where'd it go? Yeah, so gross anatomy and physiology of the cerebellum. So cerebellum under anatomy and physiology, then go to anatomy and physiology. And you just want the first one. This was touched on in the lecture this morning. The first one is so the cerebellum coordinates fine-tunes movements and coordination and balance. And then go to histology, and this includes ones that were from last week on the histology of it. So if you remember, you have your molecular layer, your Purkinje cells, your granular layer, the white matter. This is all really helpful, and it does get a little specific. It involves like some neurotransmitters, and it focuses a fair amount. Some of these cards focus on like Golgi cells and granule cells, and there's another one too, like mossy cells, and I don't know some like the kind of the not so pertinent nerves in those regions, but they were still mentioned in a slide, so I activated them. So I mean, it's really so focusing on the Purkinje fiber here, the Purkinje cell, but it was also these cards talk about the mossy fiber, the climbing fiber, the granule cell, the Golgi cell, the basket cell, and the stellate cell, and these respective layers. So it gets you thinking about the anatomy of the cerebellum. And key detail that it includes neurotransmitters, which were touched on. So it's in a way. So in the slide by in the lecture by Dr. Fracano, she talks about the Purkinje nerve cells release inhibitory effects. So if they release inhibitory effects, what neurotransmitter are they secreting? It's GABA, because it's the inhibitory neurotransmitter of the central nervous system. And so I'm just connecting the dots from the lecture we had last Friday to what Dr. Fracano mentioned in the layers, and kind of connecting that these inhibitory neurons are using these specific inhibitory neurotransmitters, so GABA and glycine, depending if you are in the central nervous system or spinal cord. And then the same is for glutamate with excitatory. So I'm just trying to make that all come full circle with the flashcards. And I just wanted to throw that out there for all of you. And then we're going to come down into the cranial nerve reflexes. And this is something that we've talked about and was also touched on in the past, talked about in the past and then was revisited today. And so the ones I have activated are this first one, the lacrimation reflex. That's like you producing tears in response to dry eyes or what have you. But the big one here that I wanted to grab was the corneal, and there'll be more questions on that in regards to the afferent and efferent branches. And then you want to grab this one, skip one, then skip two, grab this one, and then out of the last four, just grab the first three. This one, not so much, because we haven't really talked about the lacrimation reflex, but we did talk about the corneal reflex, the gag reflex, and then there is the pupillary light reflex have all been talked about. All right. And then we're going to get out of anatomy and physiology, still stay in the neuro and special senses. We're going to go to otology, and then we're going to go to one, and like I mentioned, physiology. Activate this whole section. This is all good stuff. And then we're going to go into diagnosing hearing loss. Again, all of this would have been helpful for seminar in the past. I know, I wish I would have found these sooner, but they're here now. So there's those cards for you. We're going to go to types of hearing loss. And again, hit all this. You might think that the presbycusis, if I said that word right, that's oddly specific. But if you look at, I think Dr. Bai, the physiology lecture that we have this afternoon, I watched it ahead of time. Her practice questions relate to using this specific term. So I assume she's going to use very specific terminology in her questions on the test. So I figured learn it, which is this first one. And then it goes into some more clinical or like physiological influences of hearing loss. So related to age-related hearing loss, I should say. So grab all those. I think those are really helpful. And then we're going to go into 4. And 4 here, you can activate. There's only 5, 6, 5. I can't count. So activate the second, third, and fifth one. The fifth one, it's good the way it is. The second and these two here, the second and the third, yours, when you looked, will have a different term here. It will say like desquamified keratin debris. But our PowerPoint and what online research says right now, it is keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. So it is cholesteatoma, which is what this card is referring to, as well as what was on the PowerPoint, but is an overgrowth of benign, it's benign, not malignant, benign keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. So I just made that change here. I just retyped it. So if you come up in this text window, you can type here. So just edit it yourself. If you want to keep it, if you want to keep what it says there, you can. I changed it to match what is in our lectures and what we are being taught. So that way I know what the terminology for the test. And then as for boards, I have no idea what they would say. I'm guessing since what is presented to us now is most accurate versus version 11 has been updated to match boards more accurately. So I would recommend using this terminology. And then last thing, we're going to go to vertigo. And we're going to grab this one basic card. That's it, just the one. There is no benign positional proximal or proximal positional vertigo section, which is a type, BPPV is a type of peripheral vertigo. But all the cards within OnKeying relating to peripheral vertigo, they just mention like BPPV is a cause, or then it gets into the maneuvers and the way to confirm it, and then other causes of peripheral vertigo besides what was discussed in our lecture. So the one basic card, that's it. And I believe that is all I have for you today. I didn't do lectures for Wednesday, October 8th yet. I'm just not going to have time today. So watch for that. That lecture will probably come out later tomorrow evening, that video is going to come out later tomorrow evening, just because I got caught up with some busy responsibilities in addition to school. So Hope this helps as always, and happy studying.